And first, doner kebabs.
Now look at this, doner kebab. I want to find out what meat is in it because you can't really tell, it's just shavings. Quite bready. I don't know.
Let's ask the kebab shops. They're selling them, so they should know what's in them.
I'm a big fan of your kebabs. I was wondering if you could tell me what's in them.
What meat is it?
Yes.
Human meat, human.
Yeah.
So the people dies in the war,
Yeah?
we make them doner kebab.
No!
Yes.
So every time I order a doner kebab, would it be lamb, do you think?
If you buy from us,
And if I buy it from other people?
I don't know.
Right, I'm at the place where I'm going to finally find out what is the meat that's in my doner kebab. How you doing? I'm Jim. Nice to meet you.
Veli's Kebabs in Staffordshire make a whopping 50 tonnes of doner a week, supplying kebab shops all over the UK. Let's see what they put in theirs.
I might bring my shoes from outside and go through that. That's brilliant. So I can see already it says lamb.
Yeah, lamb trim. This has come off one of the big 4 supermarkets. They trim the meat up, make it aesthetically pleasing for the customer.
Yeah.
And the trimmings that you get left over, we get coming in.
Well, that's a nice bit of meat there,
Yeah.
isn't it? A lot of people think a kebab or doner kebab has all sorts of meats in it.
If it's labelled up as doner, which everybody associates with what's on the spit, should be 100% lamb. There are companies out there that are labelling up kebabs and they're containing beef and chicken. And there has been instances of pork, which,
Right.
you know, for the Muslim community is a big no-no.
Proof's in the pudding.
Yeah.
I'd like to see how it's
Oh,
made.
come on then, I'm going to show you. Push it in.
Green button. Goodbye. As the meat goes up as well, they're putting ingredients in.
We'll put a little bit of this in.
What's that?
This is textured soya protein, so it's just like a bit of a bulking to keep the price down. We put 1 bucket of it in.
So there's the mince coming out, minced lamb.
Right, in here, got a bit of onion powder and you've got some salt. Without salt, you're not going to be able to make the kebab.
Why? What does the salt do?
It takes the salt-soluble protein out of the meat and helps to make the emulsification. Otherwise, when they're cutting the kebab, it's just going to come away in tiny little pieces and you're not going to get them those nice long strips.
By the time this machine is finished with it, this kebab mix has got in it 85% lamb, 5% bolka, 5% rusk, and 5% seasoning and salt.
Bloke's the king of kebabs, right? If I get it wrong, you're not going to hit me, are you?
No.
Right.
I'll show you the right way. Yeah, put in the middle, please.
That's all right.
Yeah. Just let it release. And you got to press it. You know,
And just spin it as well?
Yeah, you can spin it yourself when you do.
Lamb skin?
Yeah, from the breast.
I had no idea.
Basically, hold the kebab.
This binds together.
Then after maybe, yeah.
Yeah, and then we'll eat that. Got extra chili sauce?
No problem with the salad.
Yeah.
So Veli's doners only use. But can the same be said for all kebabs on the high street? Time for a forensic spot check.
Right. They say it's all lamb.
We're going to send 9 doner kebabs that claim to be lamb to a DNA testing lab to establish exactly what's in our doners.
What kind of species do you look for, by the way?
Beef, pork, lamb, chicken, donkey, goat and horse.
We'll find out later on. Next, the oyster, a taste of luxury, but often blamed for a dodgy tummy. Do they really deserve this reputation?
I'm bringing up a question about oysters.
A question about oysters?
Yeah, what's the safest way to eat them?
Oh, I don't know.
So a lot of people say they get sick from eating an oyster. They've had a bad one. I mean, is there any truth in that?
I've never, ever had a problem with them, and I have eaten dozens of oysters.
Even if there's any way of giving it a wee wash under the tap to make sure before you eat it that there's no shell fragments there.
If I tried to wash the oyster now, I think I'd lose most of it down the drain.
Yeah, you might do, yep.
So is there any safe way to eat an oyster? Oysters live in estuaries, like this one off the coast of Falmouth in Cornwall. And Kate's going to get some.
Morning!
Good morning.
Which one of you is Tim?
Me, I'm afraid.
You? Hello, how you doing?
Pleased to meet you.
So, we're here to go and dredge some oysters, yeah?
Hopefully, yes.
This salty dog has been oyster fishing for over 25 years and knows this stretch of the Cornish coast like the back of his hand.
We'll bring you back some oysters!
Tim knows exactly where to find the wild native oysters.
Gosh, it's rough, isn't it? Ah, what is this?
You're safe, don't worry.
I'm just looking at Lana's face and she looks like she's about to fall in.
Well, that's the engine stopped. I'm going to put the dredge in the water now.
And when you say dredge, what dredge?
It's this metal framework. It's not a change in design since the Roman times, really.
And when this thing is full of shells, it must be pretty heavy.
It can be very heavy, yeah.
Bet you got some muscles under there, eh, Tim? He has, you know.
We'll pull in the dredge now and see if we've got an oyster, shall we?
So, you don't have to leave them in for very long, eh?
No, no, just keep pulling them one after the other once we start.
Tim, that is heavy.
There's not many in that one either.
Look at that. Have we got any in here?
The net drags up whatever's on the seabed.
Got a little crab.
Yeah.
Oh, God. That's a lovely oyster, that.
Face of the sea.
Lovely.
You can't get a fresher oyster than these. Surely now's the perfect time to eat them.
So, Tim,
Yeah?
could I eat this oyster now?
Well, I wouldn't recommend to eat oysters out of the dredge because we get occasionally get impurities in the water. An oyster is a filter feeder, so it obviously filters all the plankton out of the water, and meanwhile taking everything else that's in the water and filtering through the oyster.
So this oyster is essentially just a little filter.
Yeah.
And so therefore it will suck in all of the water around it.
Yeah.
And then whatever else is in that water.
Well, absolutely, yeah. We need to be 100% sure that anything that might get into this oyster is taken out.
If I ate that, what would happen?
Well, it would make you very poorly. You would probably be laid up in the bed for a couple of days, I would have thought, quite poorly.
Kate's bagged herself some fresh oysters. But before she can tuck in, they've got to be cleaned out. But how?
Hello, you must be Steve.
I am.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good, thank you. Oh, you're cold.
I'm absolutely freezing. Do you know what I've been doing?
Been out with
Steve Kestin is a specialist supplier of oysters.
Let's have a look. Oh, you've got some nice
Yeah,
ones.
look at these. So, Steve, would you eat this oyster now?
No, I wouldn't touch it, as it is now.
Really?
It needs to be purified, and it needs to be purified by a method that's going to remove norovirus.
Norovirus?
The dreaded norovirus.
Really?
Yes.
Wow, so that nasty winter bug that can have you throwing up for days, hugging the toilet.
The Food Standards Agency did a survey a year or two back, and they found that oysters taken fresh from the sea, from the rearing beds, 75% of them, they could detect norovirus in them.
75%?
Now, that doesn't mean to say that 75% of them are going to make you ill, but they could detect some level of norovirus in 3/4 of the samples they took.
I don't like those odds. Will Kate ever be able to eat her oysters? We'll find out later on. Gin was once regarded as a granny's drink, and vodka was a trendy tipple. But now gin's making a comeback, so more of us are drinking it. But do any of us know exactly what's in it?
I've got a funny query, actually. What is gin? Is it made of a grain or a grape or...?
No idea. Let me have a look.
You don't know what the difference is while you're there between gin and vodka, do you?
I don't know. No. I would imagine there's vast differences, but I don't know.
I'm sorry, but I won't be able to tell you that. I'd need to get information from our technical department for you.
For the ingredients stuff, we're not allowed to give out the ingredients because it's, secret.
Gin makes you sad.
Gin makes you sad?
Yeah, gin definitely makes you sad. Everybody's different when they drink. After I drink red wine, I get really lovely.
Do you? Well, how lovely? Would you put your arm around me if you had a bottle of red?
I definitely will put my arm around you there.
London is considered the home of gin, so where better place to start?
Hello, fella. Can you take me to the Smith's Gin Distillery? Please, thanks. So I'm having a little day out today, right? I'm going to go to this distillery and see how they make gin. Do you like gin?
No.
Oh.
I'm not really a gin lover.
What do you prefer?
Vodka.
Behind this unassuming door is the first new gin distillery in London for 200 years.
Hello.
Hey,
are you Sam?
Get into the wall.
Hello, Sam.
Let me introduce you to Prudence. She's the
The what?
Her name is Prudence.
Oh, sorry, OK.
Yeah. Her name is Prudence.
She's beautiful. It's like something out of a Wonka factory.
Well, it is indeed. It's very hot.
It's warm as well.
And actually, we're distilling gin right now.
Right, good.
And so in the next half an hour, you're going to see it coming over.
You're very excited about gin, aren't you?
I'm very... How can you not be? I mean, gin is in.
My taxi driver wasn't.
Was he not?
How do you make gin? There's something bubbling away in here.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're going to see that begin to move more and more because what we've got in here is the beginning of the distillation process.
Okay.
There was one step that happened before, and that's the logical place to begin. The base spirit.
Okay.
So in here, what we've got is barley-based material. This is a really high-quality base that we are using.
Sam redistills the barley spirit by heating it in Prudence and capturing the vapour. The condensed alcohol that Sam's left with is the perfect base for gin. But the really interesting thing is that the barley spirit he's left with is a familiar tipple in its own right.
So the base of our gin is not just a neutral grain spirit, it is actually vodka.
So the base of gin is vodka?
I'll let you into a little secret. Gin is ultimately a flavoured vodka.
Really?
Yeah. It's only with the advent of one particular ingredient that makes it gin, and that is the wonderful juniper.
I mean, I don't think many people know that gin and vodka are so closely related. They're essentially the same drink.
You're right. With the addition of juniper, you are then allowed to call it gin, and not before.
Every gin distiller has their own secret blend of herbs and spices to flavour the vodka and turn it into gin. And if there's one thing Sam gets excited about, it's his botanicals.
This is the juniper.
Yeah.
Take a couple. Oh, that is gin in your fingers. Mush it into your fingers like that and stick your noggin in. Fantastic. These are Seville oranges. My goodness, smell that.
Wow. I didn't know there was so much going on in gin.
Here, smell that.
Oh.
All in all, Sam uses 10 different herbs and spices.
Excuse me, I'm buzzing.
Array of what's that?
Now,
What's going
come on, follow me.
Right.
So, what we've got now, I'm going to turn this off.
Right.
This is just telling us that the spirit is on its way over. And all of this spirit is now converting itself into a vapour, passing up through this helmet here.
Right.
This is what's called a swan's neck. So you've got hot vapour travelling up with the congeners of these botanicals straight over this overhead pipe and down into this condenser. And if you were listening in your physics class, you would have noted that hot vapour hitting a condenser contracts, condenses, falls with gravity into here and out into this spirit safe. We're about to start seeing the beginning of our gin.
It's gin o'clock, or should we call it juniper-flavoured vodka o'clock? Doesn't quite have the same ring.
Oh, it's gorgeous. That is so smooth. But all the way around it, that juniper is really singing to me.
Yeah.
And it's saying, yes, I'm a gin, and it's fantastic.
Back to kebabs. We're peering into our pitters and asking, what's in a doner kebab? We've bought 9 lamb doners and put them under the microscope to establish if they are what the kebab shops say they are.
Right, here we are at CSI Kebab. Now, these guys should have the results of my DNA test. Oh, hello, Paul. Hello. I'm Jimmy.
It's forensic scientist Paul Hancock's job to examine the contents of our food. Nothing gets past this guy.
Right, out of the 9 samples...
Yeah, 9 samples.
We've got 1 sample which contains lamb only.
Out of the 9?
Out of the 9.
There's only one doner kebab that is actually doing the real things, the real deal.
Exactly.
Just one?
Just one.
What are the other animals in them?
Most of them contain chicken.
OK.
We've also got a couple which contain beef.
What else have we got?
Fortunately, we found no goat, no donkey and no horse in any of the products.
If I gave you 900 doner kebabs, who knows the kind of results we'd have found?
Yeah, I would expect to see probably around a 60% failure rate. That would probably be typical.
So all over the country, we're tucking into meat that we might not want to eat. So how can they sell a lamb kebab that's not just lamb? Next stop, trading standards.
Do you eat doner kebabs? No. What kind of meat do you think should be in a doner kebab? Lamb. Yes, that's exactly why I'm here.
I've come to see Peter Aston at West Sussex County Council to ask what is the legal definition of a doner.
If I'm buying a doner kebab, what should the meat be?
If it's just called doner kebab, then it should be wholly made of lamb.
So why?
And that's basically the guidance, you know.
That is the guidance
that we've got from the FSA, the industry, and trading standards sort of professionals. It's a matter for other councils to interpret that guidance, but you know, in West Sussex we're clear that a doner kebab should be wholly made of lamb.
If I opened a shop here, I'm selling kebab. It says doner. You're going to come down and say, "Is that lamb, Jim?" And I'm going to be, "Okay, yes, it's lamb. It has to be." If I went to another county and opened Jim's Kebabs, and you walked along and you saw doner, and you bought it, and I said, well, some beef in there, and some chicken, I put a bit of rabbit in, and a little bit of pigeon.
That would be unacceptable.
That would be unacceptable to you. But I'm in another county that doesn't put the interpretation you do, and I can get away with it.
Yes, that's unfortunate.
It's a bit of a minefield, isn't it?
It is a minefield.
It's a doner kebab minefield, and I've walked into it, and I haven't got a map. I've been on quite a journey. It's a bit of a kebab mystery, and it's still confusing. I thought I would have some sort of answer. Don't get me wrong, there's some really good guys out there making some fantastic kebabs, but as the law stands, it makes a whole sort of confusing mess out of it. So I'm not sure what doner kebab really stands for. That's lamb. But as the law stands, depending where you are in the country, it could be chicken and lamb. Could be beef and lamb. Could be just beef. Who knows?
Back now to oysters. Kate's caught some in Cornwall.
That's a lovely oyster, that.
But she's now not sure if she should eat them.
Norovirus! The dreaded norovirus.
Really?
Yes.
But Steve thinks he's got the remedy.
So this is their purification tank. The water's circulating, it's being aerated at the far end, it's passing through this mass of oysters and then pumped back round again via a UV light to kill anything that's in the water.
By enabling the oysters to self-clean in these seawater tanks, Steve can significantly reduce the risk of them carrying the norovirus. Unfortunately, testing oysters is notoriously difficult, so no one can ever be 100% sure their oysters will be virus-free.
How long do my oysters have to go into that tank for to be purified?
The Food Standards Agency require me to purify them for a minimum of 42 hours.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
All this kit around us here is because of sewage contamination. Until we stop dumping sewage into the seas, we've got to purify them.
So ultimately, Steve, it's down to us and our number twos.
Without that, the seas would be pristine and these little guys would be living in the oceans, very happy, and you could walk along the beach, pick them up and eat them.
Our sewage is treated before it's pumped into the sea, so either it's not being treated effectively or the norovirus is craftier than we think. Kate's going to the government agency Public Health England to find out more about the norovirus.
I'm here to see Dr. Adak.
Bob Adak is an authority on viruses that lurk in our food.
Ah, Dr. Adak.
Hi, Kate.
Hello. I'm good. I've been on a little journey about oysters. Lots of oysters, up to even about 75% of them can contain norovirus.
Depends on what time of the year you look and where you look. I wouldn't say all oysters would have that, but yeah, we know that there's norovirus in oysters. We know there are outbreaks. We always have outbreaks after Valentine's Day. Happens every year.
Really?
You go out, you have a nice meal, you have oysters, they're an aphrodisiac. 2 days later, you're vomiting all over the place. I mean, somebody said it's the Ferrari of viruses. It certainly is very efficient. What happens is, not very pleasant, but when people get norovirus infection, they suddenly become sick. They vomit, and they vomit quite violently. And although you clean up the vomit off the floor, off the table, what you don't realise is that there's a fine mist of vomit in the air. And after you've cleaned the vomit up, this vomit settles onto the desks, land on anything. It can land on your cat, it can land on the cushion, on your TV set. Now,
So if I entered a room, though, where somebody with norovirus had vomited, I don't know, a couple of hours previously, I could very, very easily contract norovirus.
You could very easily pick it up without knowing.
During their chat, Dr. Adak has been conducting an experiment with some UV dust to demonstrate that eating a contaminated oyster can not only make you sick as a dog, but potentially everyone you come in contact with.
Now, what we've tried to do is replicate how norovirus spreads. I had it on my hands. When we shook hands, I spread it to you. And now, if you'd looked in the mirror, you'd see you've got marks all over your face. That's how the virus spreads.
Look at the state of me.
Exactly.
I'm covered in it.
Not only is it highly contagious, it's difficult to test for, and it's baffling scientists by mutating all the time. So, is eating an oyster like playing Russian roulette? Kate's going to ask a man who sells 40,000 of them a week, is it worth the risk?
Lovely to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Kate.
So I've heard some great things about you.
Good.
You are the Oyster King of London, this I hear.
That's very kind of you to say so. If you're going to ask me whether oysters are safe, I'm going to say yes, of course they're safe. We sell a lot. We sell a lot in our restaurants, and it is very, very, very rarely that we get a complaint with an alleged food poisoning.
Like all oysters on sale in Britain, robins have been filtered to the FSA stipulated period. But according to the government agency, there is still a small chance that the norovirus is present. But Kate's prepared to take the gamble. And I'm pleased to report that a plateful of oysters later, Kate is as fit as a fiddle.
It's absolutely delicious. You knock one of those back and you just get that.
You get a whoosh.